Spelling rules, right? Well, maybe not. Okay, this is number 1, adding suffixes, and it's actually part 1 because there's a lot of rules for adding suffixes in this wonderful English language, which we know is stupid. So, get out your writer's notebook. If you don't have a spelling page already, you should. If you don't have one, get one created. And you're going to put adding suffixes as today's topic. And there's going to be some examples, which we'll call rules, for lack of a better word. And you're going to copy them down. Here they come. The first rule is, if you add a suffix that begins with a consonant, so a B or a C or a D or an L or any of those consonants, most often, don't you love this language? Not always, but most often, we don't change the spelling of the base word. Here are some examples. So we're taking a suffix that begins with a consonant, so li begins with an L, N, L, M, and F. See how that works? And if we add it to a word like final, we're just going to add the suffix, finally. None of these other ones work with final, but not all suffixes can be added to all words. Beautiful. Now there are some exceptions. A word like true, and if you'll notice, these 3 all end with a silent E. This one, day, ends with a Y. But there are some words where if we add these kind of consonants, we do change the spelling. We drop that E and add ly, we drop the E in argue, we drop the E in judge. And we drop the Y in daily and make it an I. Boof. Beautiful, huh? So this is rule number 1. That's going to be important because at the end of this video, it's going to ask you to write down 3 more words, whether they fit into this rule or the exception. So you can do 3 from here, 3 from here, 1, 2, 2, 1. As long as you got 3 words that fit into this. Now I'm going to call this rule number 2, even though it's the same rule. It's still about taking a suffix that begins with a consonant. Here's what we're talking about. If it ends with a Y and it's preceded by a consonant, like the consonant P in front of the Y, then you change the Y to I before adding ly or ness or any others. Okay? Happy, if I want to add ness, I subtract the Y and add the I. This looks like an algebra problem. Happy plus ness minus Y plus I equals happiness. Does algebra equal happiness? I don't know. Here's another example. Come up with 3 more examples again in your work. And because this language is so convolutedly stupid, we have exceptions to the exceptions from the previous page. So most often if a word ends in Y, preceded by a consonant, you change the Y to an I before adding these 2 suffixes. But guess what? There are some words where that doesn't happen. Shy ends with a Y and has a consonant in front of it, but we don't drop the Y and add an I. You just add the suffix. So a couple of these you have to memorize. Now I'm not asking these to be a part of your homework, but there is a couple more if you can find them. Rule number 3, you add ed or ing or other suffixes that start with a vowel to a word that ends in a silent E. If we do, we drop that silent E and we add ed or ing. So announce becomes announced and announcing. Notice there's no E there. Same thing for value, for future, lots and lots of them. You can find 3 more when you do your exercises. Are you ready for some confusion? So the word change, we've got some exceptions here. If we're adding ed, then we do drop the E and add ed, so it's C-H-A-N-G-E-D. If it's adding able, we don't. Or even ing. Still going to have change with an E and then ing. Otherwise it would be changing. Great language, huh? Agreeable, same thing. We're just going to add the D after dropping the ed after dropping the E. The last one, use. If we're adding the ed, it works, but it doesn't work for all suffixes. Okay, so you don't need to worry about putting these in your exercises, but you probably want to add these into your notes on your writer's notebook. All right, finally, what do I have to do to get credit for this assignment? On a separate piece of paper, you're going to write 3 more words from each rule in the video. There was 3 of the rules. You might have to rewind a little bit, but down here I wrote rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3. Come up with 3 examples that were not given to me by me in this video. Write them down on a piece of paper. Don't forget your heading. That's something I can check in the morning to see if you've done your work.